Hey friends, it's Russ here having more Daisy Lever gun fun. Today we're going to talk about compression springs. We're going to talk about the spring extractors in particular. And I know we've talked about these before and a lot of other folks have talked about them on their sites. But let's just take a look at a second here at something I really want you to see. If you're using a homemade spring extractor, thanks a lot, to compress the spring inside of the receiver, you know that you have to take this part. It has to go in here far enough to push against the back of the spring and catch on the coils, and you force the spring forward to be able to take the spring retainer out of that slot. Or if you're reinstalling, to be able to put the spring retainer back in that slot. So that means not only does this have to go into here, it has to go beyond this point for the spring to be compressed far enough for the end of the spring to rest on that spring retainer. Okay? Now, this is good for certain types. This is good for certain types because you see it has a smaller prong to it. Goes inside the gun as far as you need to push it. But you know, because of the different configurations on these shafts, some work better than others. And if you look at this, these are very strong because they're thick. They also are hollowed out in here because of the radius on the inside of the pipe that they're made of. But they don't always fit the gap created by this knurled, I don't know what you'd call that, an extension inside of here because of the back plate. So I have three different types to show you here. This type, even though this came out of a pop gun, it actually represents a certain type. This has the guides that ride on the little shoulders. Let me try the little shoulders inside of here. See them? Whenever this fits inside. So you don't have a lot of room to drop the tool below those shoulders. This also has the same deal, the same knurled retainer here. But if you look, this plate is on an angle. You can see where the that knurl is not straight up and down. So that back plate is on a bit of an angle. So you have to make it past those knurlings, which are a little bit different. This one has a straight plate, no little ears to ride on guides. So it's on one of the earlier model guns that didn't have those in it. And actually it did have those in it, but it's not the one that only has one in it like they use today for the anti-bear trap, because they cut the one off of this side to make room for the anti-bear trap. So whenever you're pushing this in, it doesn't have a lot of room to drop, and it has to make it past two sets of knurlings, one on the top and one on the bottom. Sometimes this actually works much better because if you could see, it fits right in there. But how do you know exactly what you need to use? After all, if you have one of the narrow frame guns like this, you have a certain amount of spacing in here. If you have one of the wide frame daisies, this comes down to a certain point. It shoulders out on each side. And you have a little bit different gapping so that you may have one of these or you may have one of these. And you have to be able to make it past those knurlings there to be able to get a good push on those springs. Well, and I'm going to show you this again at the end of the demonstration here. But John Washburn has come up with two very, very nice compression spring tools. And you can reach him on eBay here. He has an eBay site, www.ebay.com/str/the Daisy tool. He produces and sells these, and he sent a couple to me. for us to take a good look at. And I'm going to, everybody who gets their hands on a tool or makes a tool likes to tell us why they're nice because they show you how to use it. Well, I'm not going to show you how it looks inside the gun. What I'm going to do is explain why I believe these are such great tools. So let me just pop these out and unbox them. I haven't had them both unboxed yet. Get rid of that. These are just beautiful tools, professionally made. I just love the way they look and the way they feel. Now, why two of them? Okay, if you look, they're both made to fit on the plunger assemblies. Okay, they're both made for the size of them. They both have a nice long reach, so even though you have to go into that receiver this far, they have a nice long reach. And because it's encased inside of here, it's not going to slide out. But why two of them? Well, because depending upon which gun you want to use them on and what type of plunger assembly you have, you might want one with a thicker rod and one with a thinner rod. Now, you may not be able to see the difference too well on video, so let me just do something here. We're going to take a caliper and okay, we're going to zero that out. If we take a look at this one, it says just about 158. And this one, 125. So this is the 1/8 inch. The other is just slightly larger in terms of thousandths. But oh boy, does that make a big difference whenever you're trying to use something with small clearances. A thousandth or two can make a big difference. These tools are nice in the hand. They're consistent as far as the spacing, so that even if you get them on there and you have to make them fit over the edge, they're going to fit consistently each time you use them. They're made out of strong steel, nicely polished. And to tell you the truth, these two are going to take the place of a lot of homemade spring compressors. I know there are several of us out here who are do-it-yourselfers. We like to get these torn apart and put them back together, change out the seals, check the interiors, make sure we're using the right springs, etc., etc. So, theoretically, something like this could be used if you produced it in your own shop. A couple of welding rod, make sure they're balanced as far as distance, put them inside, hold them correctly. But something like this, to me, looks more like a Jacob's ladder than a spring compression tool. And some of you out there are going to know what I'm talking about when I say Jacob's ladder. For the rest of us, if you get a chance and you're having trouble constructing or finding the right tool to use, something like this, and you want to step up your game a little, make it easier on yourself, this is what you want to find right here, because these tools are wonderful. Again, gentleman's name is John Washburn. These two tools cover a lot of territory when it comes to different types of daisies. And you can find them at www.ebay.com/str/the daisy tool. Here it is, folks. Well, you have a great day, and I hope you get in touch with John. And if you have any questions, he'd be the person who can really answer them for you. All right, take care, and we'll see you next time. Be safe.